We are going to see if we can. Hi, let's see if we can set up. It lets me comment, so hooray, hooray. I'm going to leave you playing. Alrighty, let's look for Antarctica. She should be here momentarily. She is. Speak of the goddess there. Ta-da.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good. I like your
We were just talking water, and I'm so missing the beach and ocean.
Ready.
And I know we're both trying to plan ocean trips. Are you playing Ghost? Is that what you're doing?
All right, we are recording and live on YouTube.
Yay, good morning. Happy
Open because on one of the last videos it was not, although I don't know how it got turned off. So
what was turned off?
Chat, live chat, comments.
Oh,
don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Mindy of MindyGets.com with my sidekicks. Bye, baby girl.
And I'm Erica with Love Giant Sprinkles. Apparently it's just sprinkles. What? You're missing the beach?
Tiny tot. The magic disappearing child.
Yes. And that's Oliver, who is very much apparently in need of entertaining this morning.
Before we get too
I
far.
don't want to say in need of entertainment. I think he just wants to entertain everybody else.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Like you do. Oh my goodness. And how are you this morning?
I'm okay. I think I actually slept last night some, which was a beautiful gift. It's been, I don't know, this full moon for about a week was just ridiculous. No sleep.
I thought it was just me because of the insomnia I can get every once in a while. Can you please stop pulling on my shirt? Thank you. I would like you not to stand up there, and then you won't have to grab my shirt. Please sit down, at least on your knees. Okay, or on my lap. Yes, I had many nights where I didn't sleep, and I thought it was just me and my issues.
Yeah.
I know my cats were a little bit more high energy this week, which, especially because they're younger, especially the little ones,
this is a heart.
Tends to happen during the full moon.
This is a heart.
Yes, that is a heart.
Speaking of animals.
Speaking of animals. But I still don't make that association.
Overwatch.
Okay,
yes.
Overwatch. Yes, Ollie, no. I'm on a call with Mindy.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Daddy will be out in just a couple of minutes.
Woohoo!
Daddy will be out in just a couple of minutes. So we should be all good. But we're all good. And that's why we do this, and that's why we we've always said.
Why did you guys pause?
I didn't pause. Oh, I brought up YouTube so I could watch the chat and pause the video.
Yeah.
I can just, so I paused it. I should probably not pause it and just mute it, and then I will be able to see it. But I also wanted to grab the link so I could share it.
Yeah. So
on the social
Yes.
medias, which is what we're
The-
talking about today.
basic, yeah, basic mom life.
Mm-hmm.
Have a sip before it gets cold.
Have a sip of coffee and my new mug.
Hooray, hooray.
Seems to be doing well on the heat too. The one thing that kind of gets me sometimes is when you have a coffee mug and it's like it almost leaches heat out of it.
Yes, I despise that. And yes, I have. The funny thing is, it's like bone china,
Mm-hmm.
porcelain do such a good job of holding in heat. Like my grandmother's everyday mugs are these tiny little petite
Guys right here.
thin
The guys right here.
things, but they'll hold heat for half a day, I swear. And then I have the, like this.
The guy fell. Oh, that's nice.
5 minutes later, it's cold.
What is that?
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's like, I mean, you expect your coffee to get chilly. No, we're not putting that up in front
I
of the camera
want to
today.
show it.
I know you want to show it. You can show him. Okay, we'll show him. He is from, oh, I don't remember. Oh, this is Cable. He's one of the bad guys from one of the superheroes. There we go. Okay,
Awesome.
everybody has
The
seen
cake is
Daddy's
on-
Cable.
This is the holder for the
Yeah.
guys.
So this is why it's mom talk, not because we are only talking parenting,
You need
Right.
to take it out.
Yes.
because there are potty breaks and toy cameos and
You need it right now.
Yes.
and
four-year-olds.
random statements that you never thought in your life you would say. Like, don't lick the electric socket.
Cut
And
you out.
Right.
Kitty
Or,
doesn't like to eat strawberries with his eyeballs or whatever it is.
or
I'm not good.
he's
for it.
wiggling. He might not want to be held right now, and you don't want to get scratched. Yeah, the good
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, there's that.
Uh,
Oh well, but
anyway.
we are here in the social worlds talking about
Mhm.
drawing social boundaries. And part of the reason that I am talking about this is I was doing a little free challenge with a network marketing gal named Lynn Ashley, and she was talking about a social media detox. And
Mhm.
from the perspective of like, who's on your list? And the things that she was pointing out that I really appreciated was the connection between internet and social media and all of the energetic terms. Like they're in your web, right?
Mhm.
They're in your field, they're whatever. And I was like, oh, yes, because it's not so much, well, it is, but it's not just the broadcasting, the private, people say,
Mom,
"Oh,
here.
for 3 days, what do you do when you're constipated?"
Let's see what's weapon.
You,
Gun.
Okay, we're not
You know.
doing that right now, though. Okay.
even your family Christmas present opening pictures that the dude you've never met in Iceland gets to see, right? Like, is that normal? And what does that mean? And what does that do to you and for you and on an energetic level, on your personal vibe level?
Right.
Give me those.
So,
Well, because I think we don't, excuse me. I think we don't understand because we talk a lot about, especially these days, right? Catchphrases these days, toxicity, toxic, people being toxic, toxic conversations, low energy conversations. But a lot of times we also talk about that from the perspective of one-on-one or group conversations when you're around people, or even if you're on the phone, right? Because these days, I know we're still social distancing to different degrees, right? I think it's almost amplifying some of that because now some of our in-person conversations are going virtual, right? And you start to see the interactions take on a little bit of a different. I'm formulating this as I'm thinking about it. My brain has stopped. But it's kind of that, you know, we're used to talking about it from a one-on-one in-person perspective, right? When they're around you and the energy of people when they're around you. And now that we're not around people, you know, we before forgot about that social media has its own energy also, and can impact your energy levels too. And then now that I know, Ollie, I can hear you, but I'm in the middle of a sentence. I'm asking you to wait 1 second, please.
Why do you have a Mandalorian helmet?
Because he really likes the Mandalorian and he likes having the helmet up there. So we hadn't gotten to the place, I think, as a whole about looking at social media and its impact on us to begin with. And now with the situation we're in, where a lot of our one-on-one direct conversations aren't happening, right? That line hasn't been drawn, or we haven't seen that we need to set those same boundaries with virtual conversations. Because even if you're following somebody, it may be a one-sided conversation because they're posting, right? We do it, we post out there to our followers, and they may engage or not. So sometimes it may be more of a one-sided, but that's still a conversation, right? So who you follow and what you bring in on a virtual level can impact that as well, especially more and more these days.
And as you were talking, I just kept thinking about, well, this morning I was thinking about some political things and privacy and boundaries. And you were saying, you know, that our one-on-one conversations are becoming this broader thing in this social sphere. And I couldn't help but think, like, how many people I wouldn't necessarily categorize as knowing whether or not they're Republican, Independent, or Democrat, partially because politics make me crazy. But I wouldn't, I don't, it's not that I don't care. Knowing who you're voting for isn't top priority in my life. I'm not going to fight you about it. And I know right now it's like this big thing. And I know that there are people who are more activists and out to persuade, and that's totally fine. But it's become this whole other thing to me now. And I just had to think, like, when you go into the polls, right, you don't just go into a random table and pick up a paper and everybody's at this table and you fill out your ballot, right? Like, you go into a private, curtained off place to cast your vote, right? I mean, there's lots of reasons and history and whatever, but like, when you're actually physically casting your vote, you are in a private space. And that just was interesting to me. And there are rules and regulations about how close protesters and people who are campaigning can be to a polling place, right? But here we are in social media being like all over the place and in your face. And really, it's just bizarre to me. Those two very separate.
Because I think what we're missing in the social media aspect of that is I think there's a positive opportunity to have a conversation, right? There's positive opportunities to start dialogues about causes and about, I don't want to say people, right? But about situations, right? There's an opportunity to have those conversations, and that's a positive part about social media is you can have that. You have a wider opportunity to have those conversations. But and I think we need to take those opportunities, but where it gets lost is when that opportunity is lost because you're concentrating more. I'm trying to figure out how to formulate this more on, to use kind of your analogies, more of what's written on the ballot versus the root behind the issues or the root behind the situations or the root behind the causes that you want to impact. I think if we're so busy yelling about, and I don't want to say that elections are surface level. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that at all, but we're so busy arguing about that aspect of it. We're missing what's underlying, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're actually, now we're so caught up in the flinging of names or this and that, that we're losing out. Like the situations that need our attention are not getting the attention that they need. The causes that need our attention are not getting the attention they need. They're kind of coming to the back burner. You know, the names we need to be remembering are going on the back burner, right? That started a cause, for instance, right? Those kind of things, to where we're so busy yelling over here, kind of thing. So we're so busy on that ballot aspect. And then, I mean, yes, you need to pay attention to what's on that ballot, because in the end, each person on that ballot, regardless of who you intend to vote for on that ballot or who you want other people to vote for, they will impact the causes, and you need to know their stance on them. But we're so busy on the ballot aspect, we're forgetting the pieces underneath.
Yeah. I think I just find it really interesting that for me, it has magnified that aspect of social media that's like the armchair quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. So people are saying and sharing and whatever some really bold things that I think they would never say to a person face to face.
Mm-hmm.
And while you have to be careful, and you know, I think it's important to, integrity is important to me, and so I don't want somebody that's just going to be all like, oh, I love you, and you know, like behind your back. But it's just so, like, you get this, there is this automatic, there's just this layer of fakeness or unreality, surrealism to social media that just perplexes me, and I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, because even bringing it back to motherhood, right? And I know we said, you know, we talked about this as, this is not just, we talk as women, we don't necessarily talk as moms, but conversations around motherhood, especially because we have children the same age, come into play. And I bring, you know, even bring it back to motherhood and social media. You know, we have, let's say 10 friends that have kids, right? And everybody's experiences have been different. Some have had C-sections, some have given birth vaginally, right? I don't use the word naturally because you had a child either way, and you know what I mean? Doesn't matter. But I also don't want to skip flags. But because that's the thing, words, right? Words. How does that word? It's a natural body part. How does that get flagged? But 10 friends, right? Some of us gave birth one way, some another. Some of us breastfed, some of us didn't. Some of us breastfed for a short period, some breastfed for longer.
Marathons.
Some co-slept, some didn't. Some sleep trained, some didn't. So, you know, and yes, in parenthood, there are rights and wrongs. There are things you shouldn't do and things that, you know, but none of those things is wrong. Just because I breastfed both of my children and another friend used formula. I don't want to say bottle fed because I say breastfed. I pumped for both of my children. They got breast milk in a bottle. But I mean, anyway, some of our friends just exclusively formula fed. There's nothing wrong with either one. You have to do what's right for your child. But I think, you know, motherhood in that aspect kind of magnifies that too, right? Because people feel that need, right? Taking what's in your privacy, right? What's in your home in that case. The choices you make that are best for you and your family and your child and your baby, unless they're horribly detrimental, then like I'm talking, you know, toddlers walking on the edge of the Grand Canyon kind of detrimental. You wouldn't do that. But we feel this, like you said, right? Because everything's magnified and everything's out there. We feel this ability to judge and comment, right? And then there's that shame that's built into that, that if I post about breastfeeding or that word, right? The shame, because just because I breastfed and I'm going to post something about breastfeeding, all of a sudden I also have to worry because somebody else, whether it's a friend of mine or not, is going to think I'm then attacking because they didn't. And it's not. I'm posting something about my journey, not against yours. So then there's that feeling that it's like, well, now I can attack you because that's not what I did. Right?
Yeah. Well, there's that physical distance, the layer of the screen, you don't necessarily have to be anonymous, but yeah, it's just this weird fake shell. And I am continually intrigued by how it shifts perceptions and has shifted down to actual daily life and interactions. I mean, social distancing aside, I wonder how many people's personal relationships that were okay face to face in January are now a little sketchy because of the forced distance and the rise of this virtual life. It's just odd to me. And looping back around, the gal during this challenge was talking about, like being particular about who's in your space and muting, unfriending, and following people, which again is still strange to me. I mean, you can mute people and they don't know about it, and you can unfollow them and they don't necessarily know, but they're still your friends. Like, what kind of energy is that creating, right? Like, you still think I'm your friend, but na boo boo, I can't hear you.
Right.
Like, it's weird, right? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to get away with in public because, we've all had that family member, coworker that just,
Yeah.
they want to push your buttons, and you needing to like not react and not overreact or whatever when they're in your physical space. That's hard, right? To like stay in your own brain and your own space and not have their really harsh words hurt you. But in a virtual space, you can just be like, muted. I don't have to hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's almost that passive aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
That's the word. Yep.
it's, well, I still love you and I still, but I'm going to mute you because since we're not face to face, I don't want to have this conversation. The question is, would you have that conversation if you were face to face? Right? Because it's almost the equivalent of, let's say you have 10 friends sitting around a table, whether you're out at dinner or you're at somebody's house for dinner or you're just hanging out on the couch, whatever, you're hanging out, there's 10 friends and there's 8 people actively involved in a conversation, but 2 people are sitting on their phones the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's almost, that's probably the closest I can think of to,
Right.
a similarity.
Yeah, disconnected, and there's a weird energy about it, right? Like when the one person like won't make eye contact with anybody and has nothing to say, that's weird energy. That
Right.
feels weird to the other people that are paying any sort of attention.
So if now all of a sudden you're not following, it also means, well, you're not commenting because you're not seeing. And I mean, the algorithms these days, it's like you see some of your friends post all the time and other friends of your post none of the time, even if you are commenting on them.
Right. Even if you have to go, yes. Yeah.
So it's a weirdness anyway. So it's like
Another layer of fake relationships.
Right.
My relationships are not built on an algorithm. They're, anyway.
But then you've got that friend who never comments, right? And I mean, even though you don't notice that somebody mutes or you don't notice that somebody's unfollowed you, you notice when you don't have interaction with somebody that, especially if you think you're a close friend for, right? Or a friend of, that all of a sudden they've removed that interaction. It's like you might as well just cut off that conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've basically done the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's not occasions where there isn't, right? Need to do that. Because if you have, I mean, sometimes we can't choose. Like we can't choose who we're related to. Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to keep a connection, but mute it for a little bit because, so there's that. And I get that. But it's still a little bit of that passive aggressive, not wanting to have the hard conversation.
Yeah, the energy of what you're doing is there, whether the other person knows it or not. But because you have this screen and all these other busy things going on, people who don't pay attention to their body and to energy and to how they're feeling may miss it, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. It doesn't mean that it's still not affecting both of you, right? Because it's an interaction, even if it's a behind the back, invisible, whatever type of interaction. And so it's really made me think about like, who's on the list and who have I followed, unfollowed, muted, whatever. I don't know that
I don't think that I actually have. I don't know. I have to go look because I don't know that but I do notice in general, instead it's that social media detox, because now let's look at it on a global scale. Let's say I do it to you, that affects our relationship one-on-one and the energy and dynamic between us. Now let's look at let's say 100. I'm good at. It's Sunday morning. We're gonna go easy numbers. I know there's more people than this. 100 million people worldwide, right? And let's say they're all. I mean, there's more than that here in the U.S. But let's say, like I said, easy numbers, round numbers. There's 100 million people worldwide. 50 million of them are on Facebook or on Pinterest or whatever you are on Instagram. Any of the social media. I know there's a lot of smaller ones. So you've got 50 million people on these networks, and then it's not just you and me one-on-one, because there's 50 million people involved in the same dynamic in one way or another. Because let's say we've all at least done that to one person,
Yeah.
and changed the dynamic. Now you're talking about a global energy that I think, especially if you're even starting to tune into energies. I mean, I have to say, I'm by no means an energy expert, and I'm definitely somebody that's newer learning into this area, but even I can feel it. And instead of muting or unfollowing, I've noticed I'm pulling back because I can feel the energy of the social media place, right? Which can be a detriment to my business too, because it relies on those networks. But at the same time, my energy feels clearer and a little bit calmer the less I interact in that space. It's not even with, you or somebody else or, specific people. It's
Right. In the whole framework.
Yeah. So in the past, I may have muted you, but now I'm feeling the need, instead of going, okay, this person, it's like, I'm just pulling back, because as a whole, the energy is just.
Yeah. I've taken specific apps off my phone. Like, they don't even exist. There's no, because I tried taking notifications off and whatever, and it still pinged. I'm like, I have turned the notifications off. Oh, now it's just numbers up there. I don't want to see big red numbers. I told you I don't want to pay attention to you. But that's not an option. So yeah, I hear you. It's a yeah, I don't have, like we said, this is not about giving answers, solutions, diagnosing, whatever. This is
And honestly, these are conversations we've had around tables, or in this case, our virtual table on a Sunday, which is why we started doing this. It's like, well, if we're having the conversations, is this something other people are having conversations about or want to have conversations about?
And that's what the chat is for.
Yeah.
Like, what is working for you? What do you think? Am I wrong? Am I totally off my rocker? Is the Facebook thing, the social media thing, normal and I'm weird? I mean, totally could be possible.
Yeah.
But I find it strange. And there's a whole other layer which we won't go into today, but about how those entities own your memories, your comments, your interactions, your relationships. Is that bizarre? Like, there's a company that makes money owning your relationships and conversations. Just kind of.
That is another conversation, because I work in the space and I find it interesting from somebody who puts advertising out there.
Yeah, I mean,
I also find it valuable for, again, a whole other conversation another day, and I find the boundaries that are being forced in place valuable too, even as I search for ways to use the advertising. But that weird, right? That tightrope walk, and that's definitely another good conversation for another day. Next weekend, I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, we may be.
We are getting back to tournaments, which isn't, that might be the conversation for the next weekend. Who knows? Because it's a weird dynamic there, a weird situation as we navigate getting back to group events. And we finally have a more solid but still tentative date for getting back to school. Looks like she'll be going back to classes in 3 weeks. But I have friends on the East Coast that are in class.
Yeah, our school's
But yeah,
open. Has been from day
Um,
one.
I think because we start so early, so we started virtually, so it's the but yeah, other than we have controversy because we do have some schools that are back in class, but yeah, we do have a date for getting back, so she'll be going back to class in 3 weeks. But some of the lower, like younger kids are going back in 2 weeks because they want to give them a chance to get more, which I actually kind of value. We don't have a kindergartner yet. He'll be a kindergartner next year, but they're giving the K through 2 a week ahead of everybody else to get into the school and get into routine without, because out here we have a lot of K through 8, you know, so it's like, it makes it a little bit easier. So anyway, well, short story long, we might have some stuff to talk about in 2 weeks, especially as, like I said, we navigate tournaments and sporting events next weekend. Interesting dynamics that will bring. I don't know what else is coming up. We'll see.
I am pondering a restuary recap, feeling this collision of fall coming and again a need to like draw those boundaries with social media and energy and be protective of that. And so I'm playing around with some ideas. So that might be coming as early as the new moon this month or as late as maybe October 1st. So we shall see.
And then we have a group forming for Shred next week. So a week from tomorrow, we'll be starting. That is our 10-day detox program. And
still time to jump in.
Yeah. And maybe social media could be, it's not technically one of the 10 guidelines. Maybe it can be like a 10B or an 11. Maybe it's because that affects, right? If you think about it, that emotional impact can affect how your body processes and how you react. You know, it can. The emotional is a lot what's behind my digestive, so it can be impacted.
And the sleep aspect. It can be if you stop the scroll, the sleep can come.
And depends when you stop the scroll too, and there is a sleep aspect to that program. So let us know if you're interested in that. We had an event last weekend that is still open that has some information, so we can invite you to that if you need some more information
on the Facebooks.
Because that's the other thing. There's not a lot of alternatives when.
Yeah, there may be. They're being explored, but for now, we are over time as usual. That's how we roll. Start late and go long.
Hey, we could sit here and talk all day. We've gone from coffee to water to other beverages before.
One last cheers, Mama. We will see you probably not next week, but the one after.
Yes. Have a wonderful week.
All right. Bye. Take care. Bye.